News TV with Reggie Kearney and Chara and Tappin, bringing you news and politics. Real World News TV every Tuesday night at 5:30 p.m. Pacific, 7:30 p.m. Central, and 8:30 on the East Coast. Real World News TV, the most interactive, longest-running radio and television show under the Hot Topics Talk Radio Network. Real World News TV, where your comments and your views are welcome. Real World News TV, news for us, by us, that affects us all. Real World News TV.
Good evening, good evening, good evening. Welcome to Real World News TV. I'm one of your hosts, Reggie Kearney. Now with me tonight is Chara and Tappin McCabe. How you doing, Chara?
Oh, I wish I had some of your energy. I think I told you I was in a taxi accident last week, and it's still kind of paining me in certain places. So
right.
But I'm still here. I'm still here. New York strong.
Good. That's great. You're New York strong and everything. Well, tonight we're just gonna rehash everything that's been going on in the last week or so here in our country, our beloved United States of America. So it is what it is. It is what it is. So where we want to start at tonight? Let's start with updates on voting. People are out doing some early voting. I looked at the news last night in Atlanta. Atlanta's going strong. Our brothers and sisters out there representing. Houston, my son sent me a picture from Houston today. They're representing down in Texas. Roland Martin was on Facebook crying today because he was just so touched by the number of brothers and sisters out in Dallas voting today. The guy in the White House thinking that, hey, I'm gonna stop them one way or another. Let's tear down the post office and then I keep the mail-in ballots out. No, these people are going out and they're voting. Last night on the news, they were talking with this young lady down in Atlanta. She said, no, she wanted her vote to count. She wanted to see the machine say submit it, and that's how she did it. She stood in line for a long time, but that's how she did it. Your thoughts?
I told my boss if I have to, I'm going to take the day off, to ensure that I can vote. I'll take 2 if I need to. But, the shame is that we should be able to rely on mail-in ballots, just like many states have. But already we see the underhanded bullshit that the GOP is doing. Prime example, California. They've been putting up ballot boxes that look indistinguishable from legitimate ballot boxes.
Republicans been doing that.
Exactly, and they admitted it. So this isn't fake news. This isn't any of that business. They've admitted it, and they've been putting it in specific towns, and I don't have the article in front of me right now. And, the state attorney general and the secretary of state issued a stop and desist order. And, the head of the Republican Party in California is like, no, we're not gonna, because the state didn't expressly prohibit this. So there have been third-party companies, I guess, in the past that have completed ballots, but not like this, not during COVID, when so many people are afraid to go out and vote as it is, and they were looking to this convenience. Now the state attorney general and the secretary of state in California have put out a notice to anybody who may have put their ballot in one of these boxes to go online and register through one of their portals so that they can track their vote and make sure that it's counted. And we've only heard about this taking place in California. For all we know, it's going nationwide with this nonsense. And I just don't trust them. Everything that party has done for specifically the last 3 years, but most certainly I would say the last 20, has been, it's been very apparent that they've been doing everything they can to infringe upon people's ability to vote. Redistricting, closing polling places, requiring ID when the Supreme Court in various instances said it wasn't necessary, and they backflipped back and forth on the issue. But then closing DMV so that people can go and get the identification they need. Then people have identification, or you've got some 80-year-old woman who's been voting, for the last, let's see, if she's African American, let's say the last 50 years, and suddenly the ID she has isn't sufficient. Go back and get your divorce paperwork. Go back and get your birth certificate. Go back and get a utility. And so they're doing everything they can. You've got groups of armed people standing outside polling places with their pro-Trump and Pence flags. And it's just really despicable that this group of people who like to claim the moral high ground and claim that they're patriots are doing everything to negatively impact the integrity of our electoral process and democracy. And it just takes me back to something that we have said time and time again, that these people are of a mind that when you talk about we the people, it only means them. And then you've got Mr. Magoo, was it McConnell? Excuse me, who said, whether you're African American or immigrant parents, you're welcome to travel anywhere in our state as long as you're conservative. I'm sorry, but Toronto.
That was Lindsey Graham.
They're all the same cracker, all the same shit to me.
Yeah.
But that is just absurd. That's absolutely ridiculous.
Well,
and I just.
The thing is, we've got to stand in line, okay? In order to make this thing work, we're going to have to stand in line. We've been used to standing in line. They've forced us over the years to stand in line. So we need to really stand in line. And I think what's happening is that the guy in the White House didn't think that we would stand up for what we believe in and go out and vote. He figured that, they're not going to stand in line. Now, our brothers and sisters are standing in line. I mean, one guy yesterday morning said he went out, left home around 5:30 to get coffee, to get to the polling place. He said as soon as he got there, he jumped out of his car and ran and got in line. But that's how quickly the line was getting long, So they had to do what they had to do. The thing about what's happening in California is that the state has no law against
third party
boxes.
Yeah.
Anybody can put them up. I can go get a couple, paint them red, green, and black, and put them out there, and it's not against the law. Now, what happens to the ballots after they open up the box and take them? We know what was going to happen with the ballots the Republicans got them. And then we don't know how many did they get.
Yeah.
They were going to dispose of them. They didn't care if it was for a Republican Party or a Democrat. They were going to dispose of them. So
I don't doubt that for a second.
Yeah, it's crazy. When you look at Texas, as big as Texas is, as large as some of those counties are, one box per county. Some people have to drive almost an hour in some parts of Texas to drop a mail-in ballot in the box. You look at Houston, the fourth largest city in the country. One box, the lines be out there for days trying to drop off ballots. So people doing the right thing. They're going to stand in line, and do what they got to do.
I know in some states, and I'm not sure if Texas is one of them, they were trying to reduce the number of ballot box locations. And I think the state AG was like, they nixed that and said, no, you're not going to reduce the number of ballot drop-off locations. Mm-hmm. So there seems to be this fight between good and evil right now, between democracy and fascism, between, I don't know, common sense and idiocy, true patriotism and whatever the hell these people are. Mm-hmm. There's a lot going on.
Yeah.
A lot going on.
And then we're still fighting with this virus, COVID-19. I don't know. I hope and pray it doesn't get any worse than what it's getting, but there are states that are spiking, even though deaths aren't spiking. Yeah. Number of cases, individuals are having it. And one of the doctors said, I saw on the news last night, said, it takes about 2 or 3 weeks for the deaths to come, once people, get into intensive care and things of that nature. So we got to see what it's going to look like, the 1st of November as far as death spiking, and then you got this guy who supposed to be calling himself the president, think he's Superman now, that he's been healed, that the Lord touched him on his forehead, smacked him around, he's been healed, and people, and then he's going out and having these super spreaders again.
Yep. Yeah, his son Eric kind of open mouth insert foot during an interview and said that his father took a vaccine, and the journalist was like, "Wait, hold up, excuse me, wait. Did you just say your father took a vaccine?" And you could literally see him turn a couple of shades lighter and and then try to spin it. But what's really disgusting to me is that here you have this man, our president, who basically benefited from social medicine, right? Our taxes paid for his treatment. And then he goes on TV, and of course he's high as whatever on the cocktail and the steroids that they've been giving him, talking about how he got the best care and he wants Americans to get that level of care and all of this other nonsense. Meanwhile, on the other side of his face, he's trying to dismantle Obamacare and protection for pre-existing conditions, which he has vacillated on, as we have seen him do time and time again. He says something to the public and then does something polar opposite behind doors when he's signing legislation. And the executive orders he signs are just bullshit. Pardon my friends.
He just wants to use that marker.
It's a photo op, but then the next day he goes and does something which is the exact opposite. So it's been really in poor taste watching him and his children suggest that because he had COVID, which may or may not be true, although I'm sort of inclined to believe it now, and that somehow gives him a leg up over Biden because he survived it. So, he knows what he's doing now with respect to COVID, and Biden doesn't because Biden was smart enough not to get sick in the first place. So it's just a topsy-turvy, back-ass world we're in right now.
Well, look, he doesn't realize that there is a grace period, about 3 weeks, where his butt could stumble and trip over a log and be back in bed again, And that could very well happen. He's acting like that, hey, everything's good, I'm gonna be okay. No, it doesn't work that way. I don't care what kind of care you get. I mean, naturally, if you go to Walter Reed, you're supposed to get the best care in the world if you call yourself the head of the free world, okay? But it's gonna I got a real strong feeling that it's gonna come back and smack him over the side of the head.
They'll keep him pumped full of, you saw the video when he went back to the White House and he's standing up there on the terrace and he takes off his mask and you can see him struggling to breathe. So the steroids must have been wearing off at that point, but they will keep him, and as rightly so for anybody who's president, right? Yeah. Rightly so, they would keep him on whatever cocktail to keep him functioning because Lord knows Pence is not the man to take the helm if something happens to Trump.
Well, he can't stay on steroids forever anyway. They don't recommend you staying on those steroids forever. You see, he was pretty much of an idiot before he got on the steroids, and look at him now. It's gonna fry his brain if you stay on it too long. He really could be talking out of his head. Then you got that black girl who wants to be white, paying for people to come to the White House this past Saturday,
Oh, for Blexit?
Yeah, and she's pregnant and she's standing out there with no mask on, Common sense of some people, they really don't have it, They really don't have it, I mean, she wants to be, in my opinion, she hates her color of her skin. She need to go in and bleach herself.
Oh, God.
If she hates herself that much, if she hates black people that much.
Well, there seems to be only two options. Either the dumbing down of the country was 100% successful, so that people can't string a logical stream of thought together to come to a natural conclusion, or there is some nefarious reason why they want people to walk around unprotected and get sick and die. Aside from the fact that that would obviously have an impact on voting, but the blatant disregard for life, doing the bare minimum of wearing a mask, is really difficult to wrap my brain about. I don't agree with 99.999% of what that chick says, and I can't think of her name right now. It escapes me, but I have to believe she's intelligent enough to understand the significance of a friggin' global pandemic and the impact that it's had on our population. And Candace Owens, that's it. You know, and this, you know, I think in the history books of the many things that will go down with the neo-right and all of those folks is their gaslighting and their pseudo-intellectual arguments. They make it sound like they know what they're talking about when they really don't. So I want this election to be over with so that we can move forward and fix the things that this administration has done to this country over the course of the last 4 years.
But self-hatred is something, you know. And some people have self-hatred. You know, she's one of those people that really hates herself, you know. I mean, and I think 20 years from now, she's going to look back on all the dirt and evil that she's done, and she's going to wish she had taken a different path.
I don't know that she'll grow up any more than Omarosa grew up.
Well, I think, no, Omarosa learned a good lesson. I'm still not going to give her a pass to come to the cookout.
The only thing she learned is to keep her mouth shut. Other than that, I can't say she learned anything.
No, she's still not coming to the family reunion, but she found out how whites would really treat blacks when they don't want to be bothered with them no more. You know, she found out the hard way.
She always knew. She just thought she was an exception to the rule. Well, and when she realized she wasn't an exception, then she had her come to Jesus moment. I'm not buying it. I'm not. You cannot know the history of this country and the history of Jim Crow and bigotry and racism and be up in that crowd of folk and not see what was taking place. You know, when the Muslim ban was proposed and all of that nonsense. You know, she doesn't get a pass for me.
But you got to understand, some people jump into a situation for the money and for the notoriety. You know, she jumped in it for both, okay? For money and fame, and she got burnt, okay?
Right,
you know,
and then she went back and tried to claim a ticket to the barbecue.
Yeah, I mean, she was making about $170,000. All she had to do was just come there and keep her mouth closed and sit in the office all day long. And, you know, she's trying to walk around the White House, walking up into meetings like she owned the White House.
She got a little bit too ahead of herself.
Yeah, who was the second chief of staff to come in there?
Oh, God.
He came in there and he stopped that mess. And
yeah.
So
they had so many, I can't even remember.
Yeah, the second one. He broke up in there and put an end to it. You know, so she got all upset. They threw out the White House.
Yeah.
You know, threw her and her fried chicken out of the White House. You know, they said she was struggling to try to keep to stay in the White House. Said she was holding on to the door. You know, so I mean,
poor Omarosa. Yeah, no, I don't look. What's her face? Candace Owens used to detest Trump. She used to be anti-Republican or anti-neo-Republican and all of that. She flipped the script because she saw where the money was, plain and simple. She knows what she's doing, and don't start with that. You can make me yawn. and you know, they make a conscious decision to do that. Are there people who are dumb enough to do that? Yeah, just like some of the folks we see down south, our kin waving Confederate flags. I don't know if they were drop kicked as a baby or what, but I do think that there are some people who just may not be intelligent enough to understand that they're being used as a prop. But these two folks knew. I'm not buying it.
Look, I can make me a whole lot of money now if I start talking against black folks. Get me a Confederate t-shirt, a t-shirt with Confederate flag on. Get me a magnet hat on. And start acting stupid and calling everybody who's a black Democrat name. I'll make a ton of money.
Of
Is you
course.
think that professional black guy that you see at the Trump rallies all the time, the one that has his slick hair back with a ponytail in the back?
I
You know,
probably check him out.
he's
Yeah.
a paid. I know they
Oh,
pay him.
that guy. Yeah, he has a
Yeah,
record. He's a
yeah,
little touched, I think.
yeah. But he's at every rally. He got to be paying that fool to travel from rally to rally with his black for Trump T-shirt on. You
Yeah.
know, look at uh, uh, flannel shirt and Cuba Zirconia. You know,
I was thinking about them too. Yeah, look,
yeah,
they got their merch, right? They
yeah,
got their what do you call it? Their bling or whatever,
yeah,
the crap that they're selling. They hitched their ride onto that.
yeah. I mean, making money.
Yeah.
Making money. Come from a little town down in North Carolina.
Swag.
Fairfield, North Carolina is not as big as downtown, big as Times Square. You know, but they hung on to his coattails as long as they could. You know.
Yeah.
Everything. They rode the wave.
Yeah.
You know?
They got to go to the White House. They got the picture. Yeah. But again, I don't buy it. Both parties have been guilty of taking the black vote for granted.
Oh yeah.
Period. Now, I do think that the Republicans are a little more egregious in terms of some of the things that they do specifically and expressly against our community and people of color and immigrants. But the whole gaslighting argument, stop being a Democrat, stop being on the plantation, that kind of nonsense, I think it triggers people who aren't really educated, and it gets them to jump on board. And I feel sorry for them, because I'm like, you're being led by the nose, and these folks are literally treating you like cattle, and you don't understand it. You think you're taking a morally upstanding position based on sound evidence, but you're not, and you're voting against your own interest for what?
But you make the statement that both parties have taken African American votes for granted. Where do we go? I mean, that's the whole problem.
It's a two-party system. We only get two choices.
That's the problem. We can't. The thing about it is, we go out and try to start a third party to really have any impact. It's going to take probably about 2 election cycles for it to have some type of impact, where either party would feel the wrath and say, we got to start treating blacks better.
Yeah.
It's like you take Biden for instance. Okay, only reason Biden made this far was because when he got to South Carolina, black women stood with him and voted him through that primary. Okay, that's the only reason. Okay, now he's a choice we got to deal with. He's a hand we've been dealt with, but we got to ride with him, okay? But it's got to come a time in this society that we have got to start riding with either party, and somehow gain our political clout, where we can go on. The thing about it, a good coalition would be us and Latinos. That would be a perfect, except for the ones in Florida. Okay, Florida, the Cuban Americans, they have always come to America and hooked up with the Republican Party. But the thing about it, a party of brown people, indigenous people, Latinos, Mexicans, African Americans, that's the party. Yeah. That's the party.
It's going to take a while to get there, though, and until then,
and that's the thing. We don't have we don't have the luxury to wait on time.
Right.
So they see that and they say, "Hey, we got them. That's a voting bloc that's always going to vote for us. Regardless if we don't give them nothing, they're gonna still vote Democrat."
Well, unfortunately, we're constantly with our back against the walls, and whether as women of color, immigrants, any disenfranchised group, anybody that's not the 1%, let me put it that way, right. We're constantly voting the lesser of two evils. And what I liken it to is how much rope you're willing to give, or you're hoping to get, not to hang yourself, but a Trump presidency to continue for the next 4 years, our rope is very short. We know everything that he pulled in the last 3 years will just give him this air of confidence that he can even lean more into the fascist realm. Whereas if we vote for Biden, we have a little more rope. We bought ourselves a little time. We can get some sensible legislation. We can push back on certain trends. It buys us time to get other people in elected positions in municipalities and governors and sheriffs and stuff like that, so that hopefully by the time we get another viable candidate, whatever party they're in, we have enough support throughout the system to push them through. We don't have that now.
Right. You know, we've done a good job on the local and state levels as far as getting African Americans elected to office. And that's probably one of the places we really got to focus more on is the down ballots, like this governors, the office of the governor, the state legislations, and your county and city government. You know, that's where the real power is. I mean, when you look at overall, you look at the Senate and the Congress, I mean, they're making laws dealing with taxes, laws really try to keep this country in with the sanity, keep the people, the sanity together for the people in this country. But overall, the laws that really affect us are our local laws and state laws, and that's where we really got to start putting our focus at. You know, the school board, you know, your city council, your county commissioners, your mayor or county executive. That's where we really got to start putting a lot of effort in. You know, because we got to make our communities better. You know, it's not but so much that the Congress and Senate can do to make our communities better.
So speaking of law, did you watch any of the Amy Barrett hearings?
Some of it, you know, because, you know, I'm just disappointed in the whole process. And, you know, I'm being realistic. I know how the outcome is going to be, you know. And everybody just rehashing and bashing her, which she deserves, okay?
Yeah.
You know, but at the end of the day, you know, it doesn't carry any water. You know, the vote's gonna be made. She's gonna be sitting up there, you know, trying to dismantle everything. You know, I'm looking at her. And I said, "Woman, you lying? You know, like the Indians say, you talking about a forked tongue."
Oh
you know?
yeah.
You know, as soon as you get up there, once you get sworn in, and unless the Senate comes back and impeach you, there's nothing really we can do once you get in there. You know, you're gonna do your own thing. You know.
Well, to me, I mean, I couldn't stomach it. You know, she was, you know, obfuscating and tap dancing around questions, not really giving a straight answer. You know, you were nominated by Trump for a reason. Don't play like you don't.
Mm-hmm.
You know that you're supported by a party that is anti-Roe v. Wade, that is anti-Affordable Care Act. You can't sit there and tell me that, honestly, you're not sitting there with an agenda. And you look at some of the pieces that she's written in the past, which she claims were strictly academic and have no bearing on how she would rule on particular cases. And it's just a big steaming pile of bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, I hope, like you say, we can get control of the Senate and the House.
Yeah.
Because this shit right here is ridiculous. Like, what's the point of paying for a hearing if you can't get a straight answer? And I feel like if you don't do your job as an elected official, you should get fired. The runner-up should be able to take your place, or the person under you, assistant director, deputy, or whatever. If you can't answer a straight question, like you hit a threshold of so many questions you're asked that you can't or refuse to answer, disqualified. You know, but this, like, they're going through the motions for what?
Yeah, well, that's why the vote is important. You know, when you don't have control of nothing, you don't get nothing. Mm-hmm. You know, and that's how it is. You know, so what the Republicans are doing, they're taking advantage of the situation. You know, that basic thing is, so we lose the Senate, we lose the White House, we lose Congress for the next 20 or 30 years. But at least for the next 20 or 30 years, if we don't like something, we can bring up a lawsuit. And 9 times out of 10, no, I'm not going to say 9 times out of 10, 6 out of 10 times, we're probably going to win that lawsuit. And they're going to have to go back and rework everything. you know, one of the things that people really don't realize, okay, we're coming out of the census taking of the census, and because the Supreme Court today said they can temporarily, put a halt to it because I mean the virus has screwed up everything. Census Bureau was trying to go as long as they could and get a good census count. Okay, here's a problem. Republicans in their states where they have control at, they can make a run on trying to get back control of the White House. Well, I mean, not the White House, but Congress and the Senate by gerrymandering, okay? Creating districts that benefit them and run on. They got 2 or 3 Democrats in Texas. Let's go ahead and fix the districts like we want them. Okay, they're going to go to court. What's going to happen? They're going to win. This has a wide-ranging effect because, like I said, now they can run the country through the courts, and that's what the whole idea of what the conservatives wanted. They wanted to get enough control so if they lost control, they can say, okay, for at least the next 20 or 30 years, we can do what we want to do, okay? And that's what they're going to do. Okay, I'm here in the state of Maryland. We only have 1 Republican district, okay? Now, this is my feeling. And the courts made us change because of what they made Texas change. They made North Carolina go back and clean theirs up. Now, they should never gave that district back to the Republicans. Okay, hey, we got control of government here in Maryland. Go suffer. Okay, because if it was the other way around and it was only 1 Democratic congressional district, they would take that away from the Democrats. You got to start using fire against fire. That's all I say.
Yeah, the unfortunate things to fight this devil, you have to become a devil, and
and that's the thing.
I don't envy politicians right now that do work with integrity, as few and far between as they may be, and that's one of the reasons why I never pursued getting into politics, which I actually thought about when I was younger. But I realized that eventually you have to capitulate in order to move forward. And after a certain amount of time, it gets so easy to capitulate, to bend, to give this, to get that by the time you get to this side, you're not even who you were when you started this process.
You're a little dirtier. You're a little dirtier by the time you come out of office.
You're dirty. Yeah. I didn't want to lose that sense of self and that integrity. And, at that time you couldn't stay in office and have integrity either. Especially in this administration. God bless AOC and her crew and Kamala and all of them. I pray to God that they never find dirt on them, because I do hold them on some pedestals right now. And if we can get a few more like that in office, we'll see. But you know what I'm really worried about is what's going to happen with all of these crazy so-called patriots who are locking and loading and talking about civil war if Trump loses. You got these people out in Michigan who just tried to kidnap the freaking governor. I mean, remember I told you when they first went to the state house that was a trial run. And so I'm genuinely concerned. And then you see there's so many different militia-like-esque groups in Florida. And they've got,
Virginia,
radio wave. They can communicate with each other. They, as much as I despise them, on some level, they are more organized than any other group in the country. They know what they want. They're single focused and they're organized. We're not. So what are we going to do when they lose their shit? If Trump loses, I can only hope that the National Guard isn't so filled with racists that they forget that they're American, or the military, or it's deeply.
That's what you got to realize, and people don't realize. The Constitution calls for a militia. Okay, that we already have a militia. That's the National Guard. Okay. Secondly, it was a provision put in there for individuals between 18 and 45 can automatically be called up if what they have as far as men in the militia isn't enough. These guys are not militias. They're just a bunch of Roman thugs, okay? Roaming the streets, thugs, okay? That's all they are. Now, I'm going to tell you something. In Michigan, regardless if they had guns or not, to a certain extent, they didn't break the law being up in people's face to yell. But I'm going to tell you something. Some would have jumped off in there, and it should have to put them back in their place. So you're right. When they did the state house in Michigan, that was a trial run. They got up in the police face. Police just stood there and they took it. Okay, you know. But I think I think one of the things that's going to happen. I don't think you'll never see an outright civil war, but what you're going to see are challenges in each state to state government and to the federal government, sort of like what the Bundys did. Okay. I'm here on this land, and you got to try to take me off, okay?
The difference with the Bundys, though, was that was white on white, right? You look at certain states right now where they have stood back and let these armed guys play soldier at protests.
Yeah.
And stood back and let them shoot protesters. Cops let them do that. Yeah. So what are cops going to let them do if Trump loses?
I think the cops need to realize they don't care about them. Now you heard that in the little gang of 13 in Michigan, they were going to attack police officers and everything. So they don't care about them being in blue. All they care about is getting the statement up. It's just like this boy in Illinois, Kyle Rittenhouse. Now that boy needs to suffer the wrath of the judicial system.
And his mother.
What they're going to do, they're going to drop his charges down. They're going to fix it and drop his charges down to juvenile. So he don't have to spend the rest of his life.
Old enough to shoot a man. No.
But look how much money so-called right-wing Christians, okay? You hear what I said, so-called right-wing Christians. They had raised about $500,000 for this knucklehead. His lawyers are fighting extradition back to Minnesota, Wisconsin, fighting extradition back to Wisconsin now. He needs to feel the full wrath of the judicial system.
Yeah.
Even though he should have never been in that squad, his mother should go along with him too, because the mother bought the gun. They should take her butt and carry her right back there too.
If it were, I forget what the acronym is, but the African American militia group, if you will. If it had been one of them,
oh shoot, they've been locked up, hung.
I'm just saying, they would have been riddled with bullets right there and then. There wouldn't have been a trial, and it's just the blatant hypocrisy. It is so much more in your face now than I think it's ever been, at least in my time. Maybe in the 50s and 60s, it was more like this level of blatant discrimination. I don't know.
In the 60s, it was like that. And it's still like that in the South. Nothing has changed. Even in the last couple of years, it's nothing for a white man call you a boy. In the South, even now, even before this knucklehead got in the White House, they still did it. Even before Obama got in the White House, they still did it. Attitudes was the same thing. You would hope that some of the old guys dying would change things, but it didn't. Because this stuff filters down through the family, okay? And the family carries on the tradition of being stupid, okay? So it doesn't change, okay?
Yeah.
It doesn't change. We have to continue on. We have to continue on with the fight. We have to continue on with the push to make things better in this country. Because you might well face the fact racism is going to always be around. One of the things that affects it is because they know by 2050 they will not be the minority anymore any longer. Okay, that's it. Before they gradually are falling apart now, because if you look at states in the upper Midwest like Idaho, North Dakota, South Dakota, those states, the birth rate among whites is going down. So that scares them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they came here with this guy they called Christopher Columbus, brought all these diseases from Europe. You know, same thing with the guys that showed up at Plymouth Rock, brought diseases with them, and took a country away from people that were already here.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I was thinking today, what if the Indians decided one morning and woke up and told all of us to leave, that they want their country back?
I'm sure they want to tell us that every day, but I don't know that they have the numbers or the weapons.
They won a case in Oklahoma.
Yeah, no, tell me about it.
Hey, the court ruled in their favor. Oklahoma better give up some money, give them back the land.
Under this administration, I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah, you know. So I mean, you know, you look at the protests in South Dakota at Mount Rushmore, and that was their land. It was taken. You know,
of course,
so
yeah, and they're protesting it, but you know, have they succeeded?
Yeah, so they have every right to wake up one morning and say, "Look, we want our land back. Y'all can go."
Absolutely, but unfortunately, the attitude that this country was founded on would be take it from me. You can have it if you can take it.
They might just do that.
You know? So maybe if they join forces, if all people of color in this country join forces, but you know, this place is just falling apart. As we're falling apart at the seams. And
you look at around the world, we are isolated now. We don't have any friends. Nobody trusts the United States anymore.
Yeah.
You know, like they said, that guy over in the last strong dictatorship over in the Eastern Bloc, that the European nations have said, look, guy, it's time for you to step down. But they said one time back in the day, when the situation came like that, the United States would jump in there and join them, the European Union, and put pressure on the person to resign.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you haven't heard. I forgot what the guy's name was, but you haven't heard the White House mention his name. You know, like they said, these big weapons that little fat boy over in North Korea has built. They don't know if those are just, you know, shells or actual weapons, you know, because they don't never know what he's doing, but he's intimidating. But we have messed up our relationship so bad with China. Well, they have messed up their relationship so bad with China that China's not going to step in if he gets acting a fool.
Yeah, no, we're screwed left, right, and center.
Yeah.
So we have to vote. We have to win this election.
That's right. We got to make some changes.
Generations depend on it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, this election is going to change the way the country flows for the next 10, 15 years, you know?
I haven't even looked at my 401k because I just don't want to see what damage this administration has done to it. That's my get out of the country fund.
Well, you ain't going nowhere then.
Knock on wood. Bite your tongue. Don't wish that on me.
And you know, going back to the court, you know, one of the things that they did, the judge that Obama had wanted to appoint to that seat that was stolen by Barrett was Myra Selby.
Mm-hmm.
From, you know, she would have been one of the first African American judges in the appellate court, the jurisdiction that Barrett sits on. And the thing is that district that Barrett sits on has no African Americans. It's the only white completely appellate court region in the country. You know, the only one, you know. And another thing was 80 of her colleagues at Notre Dame said she wasn't fit to be Supreme Court justice.
I think it was more than that, yeah. But you know what? We went through the same thing with Kavanaugh, unfortunately, and they pushed him through anyway. Yeah. We're just going to have to wait and see.
Yeah.
Gird our loins, so to speak.
We're going to do more than gird our loins.
Yeah, well, as a woman, most certainly.
Because it's going to get crazy out here, you know. Like I said, you know, But the thing about it, we never seen federal judges or Supreme Court justices get impeached. Nothing is out the rim, you know. But
I have to do something pretty egregious.
Yeah, but this is the thing. You can't get too radical with what you want to do with your intentions, because that will tear the country up regardless of what party is in charge. Because
I don't know, but the Hobby Lobby ruling was pretty freaking radical. Calling corporations an individual and giving them individual rights, pretty friggin' radical.
Yeah.
Giving employers the ability, they're suggesting that they have the right to determine whether you can keep your job if you're on birth control, single, unwed mother, or anything like that. Insane.
Yeah.
And if you don't think that's radical, we're gonna have some problems.
But the thing about it, they're basing their operation, their companies on their religious belief. The thing is, you don't go work for them. You don't go even put an application in for them, okay?
Because but if you live someplace where Hobby Lobby is the primary employer, you don't really have much choice.
You just don't go do it.
Mm.
You don't go do it. It's not worth it. It's not worth your time and effort. Then you put an application in with them. It's been so much. Even with Chick-fil-A. It's been a cloud over that company over the years because of who they support and who they don't support. I mean, these are, excuse me, Home Depot. Their founder loves Trump. Okay.
Lowe's all the way. Screw Home Depot. Yeah, I know.
Corporate America. So what do you run? You got to work. So you just go to work and keep your mouth closed and get your paycheck. I mean, it's sad to say, unless you come out and become an entrepreneur. That's the other thing you can do. And one of the things we got to do more of in the African American community is open our own businesses and support each other. Look how much money, trillions of dollars comes in the Black community, but doesn't stay there. They say once a Black person gets paid, that money stays in that community for 6 hours.
Well, we need to support each other in getting enough money to open a business, let alone supporting the business once it's opened. I mean, we already know that there's difficulty getting small business loans for African Americans and people of color. But you look at other communities you just look at other communities and they are expert at pooling their money together and opening up businesses. And if we could learn from that, we'd be unstoppable. But we're too busy again being distracted as we are.
And being against each other. When I was when I was a franchise consultant with 7-Eleven in the DC area, I asked the Ethiopian guy one day, because he was a young guy, he was working for IBM. And I know the guy didn't have the money to open up a 7-Eleven, put down the money, franchise fee and all that kind of stuff, and buy that store from the owner and all that kind of good stuff. So one day we I said, man, I want you to tell me something. How were you able to get this money to, purchase this franchise? And he said in the Ethiopian community, they have like a little council. Okay. They have in this council, they have a big bucket of money. Okay. You go to them, if you got a good business plan, they will buy into your business plan. They will help you open up the business plan, okay? Once you pay that money back, it just keep recirculating. Somebody else comes up, steps up to the plate, and they help them. And that's how they do it.
Yeah.
They take that little part of money and they just move it around.
We lost that somewhere. Well, we had that for a little while.
Yeah, but I think what happened was with the Tulsa massacre, Rosewood, and all those massacres that took place, it set us back, okay? It set us back, and then when they started really getting aggressive with us as the lynchings and things of that nature, it really set us back. We couldn't vote. Once they saw us come out of the Civil War and going into Reconstruction, we were becoming senators and governors and congressmen and things of that nature. They realized we were too smart for our own pants. And they said, wait a minute, we got to stop this. We got to nip this in the bud. And then they saw us put our own communities together, have our own movie theaters, our own funeral homes, our own schools, our barbershops, our department stores. They put their foot on our necks.
Let me ask you a question, Reggie. I'm going to ask you a personal question. How old are you?
63, if you got the answer, okay?
I do have to ask because I was just thinking about the 1965 Civil Rights Voting Rights Act. That was only 55 years ago.
Yeah.
And people like to act like you've been free for 200 years, you've been this for 400 years. That's what, one generation that we've had the ability to vote?
Well, yeah.
Do you remember this happening?
Yeah, and I keep forgetting, to ask my mother. I'm going to North Carolina this weekend. I want to sit down and just talk to her and find out how it felt the first time that she was really able to vote without having to pay a poll tax or count the jelly beans in a jar. And, my mother was an educator. My father was an educator. Both were college graduates and stuff. But that didn't mean nothing, okay? Because regardless of what your status was in the community, they were trying to suppress your vote. And see, that's what makes me mad, that a lot of these young people don't realize the price that even my parents and grandparents had to pay in order for them to vote. I mean, it's like Shaq. Shaq said he finally voted, recently in this presidential election. First time he ever voted. Shaq is in his 40s now, early 40s. Okay, Shaq, I'm glad that you finally decided to vote. But, maybe I would have kept that to myself because it's not really going to motivate anyone to go out and vote, okay? And you have a lot of that happening in our community where, blacks say, well, I'm not going to vote because I know it's not going to help me. We need to concentrate on the down ballots. I agree, we need to concentrate on the down ballots, okay? Don't get me wrong, but we also need to look at everything on a national level. I mean, I love Colin Kaepernick. What they did to him was wrong. But, man, I want you to vote. Be another example. Motivate people to go vote. He doesn't vote.
Yeah. No, it just, and that they have to ratify that every how many years?
Well, it's sitting in McConnell's office now.
Right, but how frequently do they have to ratify it?
Well, it needs to be ratified now. It might be every 5 to 10 years, something like that.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah,
that has to be ratified. That is not make it an amendment, make it permanent, and be done with it. As if the question of our nationality, the question of us being American citizens, is something that needs to be re-argued, re-litigated every however many years this needs to be ratified. Yeah. It's absurd.
If they could get away with it, they would. And they're already trying. They would really suppress our vote back to where it was, okay? Florida, a good example.
Every 10 years, yeah.
Every 10 years. Florida is another good example. Okay, the Republicans call themselves doing the right thing, okay? They said, fellas, okay, you got the right to vote now, okay? They didn't realize how many felons they had in Florida, okay?
How do you not?
They said, hold up for a minute. If we let the felons vote like they want to vote, they're probably going to vote Democrat, and we're going to lose control of the state.
You think?
So then they say, before you can register to vote, you got to make sure all your restitution and fees are paid.
Poll tax. Yeah. Yeah, it's just one big con.
Yeah.
But
and you know who most of the felons are? They us, okay? The majority. So, I mean, unfortunately, they still got their foot on our necks, okay? Especially when it comes to voting. You look at what Georgia did, wiped off 200,000 people off the voting registries, African Americans, off the books.
Yeah.
And then they don't try to send out. Send out letters, even if they need an address change, to let them know that they've been taken off the road.
Oh no, we don't get that level of service.
Yeah, the presidential election, you go to vote, and then they say, "Oh, you're not registered to vote." Yes, I am.
Then you ask for a provisional vote and be done with it. Don't walk away if they do that.
Well, they probably throw those in the trash can.
You take a. See, that's the messed up thing. Like, I want to take a picture of my vote when I go in, and I know that I can't. But we're getting a message from Tony that we have to wrap it up. So, my final words on the topic are: our people died and bled, were hung, shot, sliced, diced, dragged through cars, burned in buses, literally so that we would have the right to vote. And if our vote wasn't so important, they wouldn't work so hard right now to block it. So get off your ass and vote.
That's right. Vote. Like your life depends on it.
Seriously.
You know, think about your grandparents, your great-grandparents. Think about those people that got hung because they went and voted. Think about, and you're talking about 53 years ago, just in the 40s and 50s when they were trying to vote, people were losing, past preachers were losing their lives for registering people in their congregation to go vote.
100%. 100%. But, you know, like I say, the dumbing down of the country has been successful. History isn't important. Some of our own kinfolk don't know history, don't understand the relevance of it, so they don't understand the sacrifices because we have not been in control of the narrative of the history that is taught in our schools. And
one thing we got to talk about, we might have to talk about this next week, is that the executive order that the little guy in the White House passed concerning sensitivity training and any agency getting money from the federal government can't teach on or
the Lincoln Project,
on racial equality and sensitivity. HBCU students and people and graduates, you better wake up, because that affects HBCUs also. HBCUs get a lot of federal money, so he could come in there. They could come, federal government could come in there and say, get rid of your Afro-American Studies department. Okay? Okay. You know, my university that I go to just got a $400,000 grant from the federal government to do,
don't out them.
but to do a study on disparities and things of that nature based on race.
Yeah, we will have to talk about this on the next show.
Yeah, it slipped through the cracks. But HBCUs, you know, the graduates, you better wake up. Federal government.
So real quick, because we have less than a minute left, I can feel Tony going like this. We want to invite you to join Hot Topics Talk Radio TV tomorrow night for an interesting topic: marrying after 50. The show starts at 8 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Central, and 11 p.m. Eastern time. So I hope you log on and join the team talking about that subject.
Tony must be thinking about getting married since she's doing a topic married after 50 in the morning, man.
I can hear her cursing you out on the other side already.
There she goes. She just typed the word no. Capital letters, capital N-O.
One never knows. One never knows. But on that subject, we will wish you all a good evening. Be safe. Sanitize, wear your mask, and vote, 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 vote.
Vote, 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 vote.
Peace out.
Good night.